And when we talk about soldiers deployed, these are real men and women and their families. They're not just boots on the ground. They're real people, and they're out there. And so this is a serious issue. It's a big deal. So the first thing we should say is, the president is acting out of righteous anger. Germany has been a feckless partner. They're not meeting their obligations. And he is kind of pushing every possible conceivable button to try to say, look, you guys need to stand up and play your part in the alliance. The flip side of that is, the reason why our troops are in Germany is really nothing about defending the Germans. Obviously, that is the key spot to which we defend the front of NATO. So if you think of what's holding back the Russians and the Baltics and Poland and Hungary, it is because our base in Germany really feeds the front lines of NATO. So the other thing is Germany is really our launch pad for really about half of the planet. When we put troops into the Middle East, take a kid out who's been injured in Afghanistan, he goes to a hospital in Germany in Landstuhl. So part of the reason why the United States is a global military power is because we have this footprint in Germany that we use everywhere. So I think we have to be thoughtful about when we think about what it is, why it's there, and it's important. But on the other hand, we have to acknowledge that our president has hit on a really serious issue. Germany is not standing up and doing its part. So that's
neither are the other partners. So let's dive into it. You and I have talked before, and I think we are in logistics mode quite often. The Pentagon plan is to cut 9,500 permanently assigned troops from Germany by September. But, like you said, it's not this blanket, you're all troops and you all do the same job. There's differences between Landstuhl and Ramstein. There's differences between the Air Force contingent, the C-17s, the transport to Afghanistan, the Middle East. There's the NATO component. So, right-sizing the footprint and keeping the effectiveness and the capabilities is what's really being done here. I know the headlines like to present it a certain way, but Robert O'Brien is not saying, look, I'm just going to go down the list and from A to X, we've got this many, and we're going to pick out 9,500, and there you go. This is an assessment of what our footprint looks like. And this is needed because our platform and our capabilities and our commitments change, not just about the other countries, but to that point, don't we also need to have the other countries make realistic adjustments in what they do? Because we're not in a war right now, and therefore they have the ability to step up rather than be afraid of committing to the defense of NATO.
Yeah, those are really thoughtful points. Part of the problem with the way this rolled out is we don't know any of the details. Nobody's explained what are they moving, why. Nobody's explained any of that. And so I think part of the frustration, the consternation, is everybody kind of puts their own vision on this.
Well, should we actually know this? Let me, to your point earlier about, defense and footprint and why we're a global power. You don't print out your plans and send them out, by the way, to any congressman or senator for that matter. But you don't put it all out there. You execute, and people will analyze in time. But I think that's something else. People expect to be told everything, and sometimes you don't need to know.
So when we talk about NATO and people stepping up, I think we get in very different responses. There are countries in NATO that are really kind of doing more than their fair share. There are already several countries that are meeting their required defense spending. There are countries look at Georgia. Georgia's not even in NATO. Georgian soldiers are everywhere in the world where NATO is. They provide supplementary forces, so they've been supportive of. For the size of their country, they have in many cases percentage-wise one of the larger contingents in terms of casualties. They take larger percentage of casualties. The Georgians are desperate to demonstrate that they are a reliable partner for the West. So it is a bit of a mixed bag. And what I have liked about the president is, basically calling countries out and saying, I think before the American response is, look, we're doing this, it's in our interest, whatever what these guys do. But But the notion is we are stronger if we all carry the load together. I think that's an important message. And I think it's a message that could not be forgotten. And I think in the end, it actually will make a stronger alliance by really putting other countries on the spot and saying, you have to pick up and carry your fair share of the load.